So today we are going to the lovely Nikki Jones is in the house, and we might have a few more people popping in. Today we're going to show you the teaching story, and this is a story type that most people default to when they say, "I want to do educational videos on LinkedIn, on Facebook, etc." People want to go, "I think I need to do a teaching story or an educational story to demonstrate that I know what I'm talking about," right? And I kind of say that that is true. You do need teaching stories, and they do, show people that you know what you're talking about. But it isn't the be all and end all. They typically don't get high engagement because people are learning, right? That if you're introducing concepts that they don't know about, they'll put an insightful emoticon or whatever it's called. So we're going to give you, this is a story. And if you've been following along in the How to Sell More by Being Yourself program, you'll already see the client success story, and it's used again in the teaching story. So we're going to show you that. I'm going to pull up get the document ready to show you, and we will share that with you now. Before we do that, Nikki, how's your week been?
My week has been, very busy, but very productive.
Very good. Very good. So this will be a short video because it's actually, if you've been following along with the client success story, that's kind of the main part of the story, right? It's the teaching part. And it's really just to demonstrate that you know what you're talking about, because you're talking about a success that you've had with a client. So it is put simply, you're going to use the framework of ABS. We've introduced the ABS, the and, but, so structure before, and you can literally use this template and it'll be available for you. You can download it, and but again, you need to be clear about the problems that you solve for your clients. The exercise we've been doing in this program, if you know the problems that you're solving for your clients, and remember, there's a difference between a problem and an outcome. The problem is going to have something like, I can't, I don't have enough leads in my business, right? That's the problem. And your solution is, or for you, Nikki, it's, I don't have enough money for retirement. I've got a solution for you. And the solution is the outcome. So being clear about what the problem is. And the keys with the teaching story is broken into three parts. It's the problem, it's the story, and it's the value. So it is different to the client success story, where there's a little call to action at the end. You remember that? And we don't actually have that last line, because it's not about inviting people to come and have a conversation with you. It's more about, if you're having this problem, here's what you need to do. And you might need to frame, you need to talk to your wealth advisor. You might need to talk to your broker. So you're saying, it's like you need, there isn't, Nikki's not the only investment, lifestyle entrepreneur on the planet. So, you'll need to work with your lifestyle entrepreneur to ask them these two questions, right? It's giving your knowledge away without saying, come and work with me, because it is a teaching story. It's giving them knowledge. So if you're clear about the problem, you can literally start by saying, do you have this problem? Like, do you not have enough money to save? Do you not have enough money saved for retirement? Right? That's the problem. You can actually start with the problem, and then you're going to dive into the client success story. Recently, I worked with a client. She was in her early 50s, based in Mount Roskill, and she had 3 kids. And she, and she, making up what that and piece is. So, as an example, share 3 things about them. Their age, their suburb, where they live, the occupation, just so people can place them and go, oh yeah, cool. And if it was a Hollywood movie, recently I worked with, well, recently there was a story about the hobbits, and they lived in Hobbiton, and it was just near Matamata, and it was full of grassy, lovely fields. It was a place you didn't want to leave, right? You have set the scene describing the environment, and that's what the first part is. Then we talk about the problem, but the bottom problem, but they didn't have enough money for retirement. That's it. Keep it brief. Very short. We worked together. And where are they now? And now they have a $10 million plan for retirement. Now they have a new business that they can passively grow. And I'm so excited for them. Right? That's it. So then we can use the so differently in different to the client success. So if you have this problem, here's what I suggest you do. So if you have this problem, here's what I do. And you can share 1 to 2 pieces of value. And it's not selling. It's, here's what I would do. Talk to your lifestyle entrepreneur about sitting down and just looking at what is your income and knowing exactly how much you need in terms of your expenses, etc. You need to do some sort of financial plan, first of all. And the second thing is look at ways that you can grow your retirement savings by purely just leveraging your network. Right? We're not selling. We're just saying you can leverage your network. There are people out there in your network where they might be interested in something that you have. And then you can almost finish it there, because it is about value. And you can finish with a question, but often it's a teaching story. We talked about, what do we want our audience to think, feel, or do? Teaching stories are thinking stories, or a thinking outcome. So you don't need to have a call to action. I kind of laugh, although you'll see someone, have you heard of Jason Gunn? You've heard of Jason Gunn, Nikki Jones, right? So he does lots of videos on LinkedIn. He kind of does similar to obviously what I do, but for probably, Kiwis. I tend to be a bit more for the small business owners. And, he doesn't need to do personal stories. He can do client success stories and education, because everybody knows who he is, right? He doesn't need to introduce himself. To go, that's Jason, I'm going to, and he's always entertaining, right? He uses stories as a way to communicate a problem. And he'll often use an anecdotal story, which is our next story we're going to cover off. But what he does do at the end, it's like, if you need some help with this, if you need some help, I'm always here. Email me, jason@easyleadership.co.nz. So you can do that. I don't mind, right? So if you have this problem, here's what I should do. And if you need some extra help, reach out to me. I'd love to help. So it's going into more of a call to action around that. In this day and age, things are a little bit tough at the moment. I don't mind if you could probably say, if your wealth advisor, if you don't know a lifestyle entrepreneur, I can always guide you down this pathway. So I don't mind a little bit of a call to action, but typically it is a learning, teaching story, not a call to action.
Can I ask a question?
Yes, ma'am.
Would this be an appropriate one to give, like a lead magnet where you're giving away, say, a PDF or something that would help them?
Yeah, yes and no. I'm kind of sitting at the 80-20 rule, right? So 80% it is thinking posts. It's just one core promise. I'm going to teach you something. That's the promise. The other 20%, occasionally, if you need some help, I'd love to talk. Or, then it becomes more of it's about me. I know a lead magnet is about, getting an email address, right? So not with every teaching story, try and keep it to the promise is, I'm going to teach you something. Here's what
Mhm.
you need to do. It is harder for products as opposed to services, right? Because there's often, for service-based people, there's knowledge, or we need to impart some knowledge before we work with people. We need to find out stuff. So it's often can be the first steps that you will need to know from people by saying, well, so it can be, it's a bit like storytelling is, I need to kind of understand, are you aware of structures? Are you aware of people say, I'm not very good at, but I'm not very good at telling stories. And that's often because we're not very good at capturing stories. We're not very good at capturing moments or learnings in our business, that we go, we will just do it this way. We'll just change the process, right? But that's actually a teaching piece that's valuable to other people so they don't fall into the same trap again. Now, Nikki, I'm going to come to you, put you on the spot. We actually had a go at the teaching story last week. Do you want to have a go at telling a teaching story?
Yes, the one I started on last week. Started, in my experience, so many people don't know what they want. They're not clear on where they're going in life. How, because I cut a bit out, how can you create and design a life that you love and makes you bounce out of bed every single morning if you don't know what you want and where you're going? I recently worked with a lady called Kirsty, who's a single mum in Auckland, and we went through a document with 101 questions about goals and dreams. Here are the first two questions. What are your 4 key health milestones over the next year? And what are 4 places in the world you'd like to live for an extended period of time? If you are feeling lost and lacking direction, looking at your life goals and dreams is a great place to start.
Okay. So, again, I would say the structure was there. I think the client success story needs to actually have an outcome of a lady who wasn't. So it's kind of I tend to strip it all down and say the problem is, are you not bouncing out of bed loving your life, right? So that you can just start with that. Are you not bouncing out of bed loving life?
Mm-hmm.
And then, you could add another line, which is kind of what you've got, feeling invigorated about, what's ahead of you. Recently, I worked with a client, 3 things about them, and talk about the problem, which is but she wasn't bouncing out of bed and loving life. We worked together, and now she's got a plan and she's loving life. If you're not bouncing out of bed, here's what you should do. I really discovered this book called 101 Questions to Ask Yourself. And the first 2 questions are, and you should do this exercise. Write down, name 4 places in the world you'd like to live, right? And whatever the other question is. Hope you found that helpful, right? That's kind of you're still, the client success story still sits in the middle, and it frames the problem that you're talking about at the start. All right. So I forgot some of the facts, but it's like, get straight to the point with the question or the problem at the start. And it's like, are you not bouncing out of bed loving life? That's it. Recently, I worked with a client who wasn't bouncing out of bed. You know, what again? I recently worked with a client, Jane from Mount Roskill, was in her late 50s, and she'd kind of sunk to a new low. No, that's a problem, right? But and she used to have zeal and zest for life, but recently she's just feeling really low and doesn't really want to get out of bed in the morning. We work together, and now she's got this new lease of life, and it's just awesome to see. If you're suffering from this problem of having a lack of juice in your life, there's a really good book that I work with when I work with clients. It's called 101 Questions. And obviously there's lots of questions. We haven't got time for two. And the first two are, go and write those down. It'll be amazing what outcomes you have, right? And then you can just finish it there. If they're interested in, if you're talking to somebody in a script or a story, etc., that has that problem, and there's lots of people who do have that problem, right? Is they're going to Google search 101 questions. If you can give the book, right? And it could be a picture when you post it. If it's a social media post, it's a picture of you in your book. So then they can go and Google it, right? Because ultimately you're inspiring them to take action, and then they're going to, they might reach out to you and say, so can you tell me about your business, right? That's it, right? It's not a sell. It's just hey, I think this would be really helpful for you. Was that helpful?
Mm-hmm.
I tend to strip it all down, but it's very segmented. It's problem, story with the AB or the AB, right? The and the but, and we work together. And then the so pieces. So if you're struggling with this problem, say the problem again. So if you're struggling with not having the zest for life, read this book. It's awesome.